Dorimo. Alright. That's all set up. And that's all set up. Public. Yep. Yep. Voice training. Minimize that. I have a plan today, and you're part of it. If you're here from a VOD, hope you're doing well. I'm sure if you're here from a VOD, this will be a good, place to get some of your questions answered. That's basically going to be the entire stream. My plan is to get as much questions as I can from people that drop in, and then I'm going to be making a video around the most asked ones. Like the ones that I feel are most prevalent in the community, because it's not uncommon for people to come to my streams and be like, oh, hey, I'm trying to voice train, and I'm having difficulties with this, and this doesn't make sense. And I'm like, oh, do that. So I'm gonna get them all today, and then I'm gonna make a video, a voice training video. Wow. Yeah. Hello, everybody. Hi. What's going on? Big day. Exciting stuff. Yes. All right. So let me just say it one more time. Today the plan is to, answer your questions, help you with voice training, and I'll be taking note of the questions asked, and I'll be making a video around some of the most prevalent ones that I've seen in the community. So, hi, thanks for the subscription, Yuksu. I appreciate it a lot. Thank you. 6 months. Congratulations. That's huge. Wait, congratulations. For some reason, I thought, like 6 months on HRT. Congratulations for giving me money for 6 months. What a good opportunity for you. Awesome. Sorry, I was glugging some G-subs and trying to talk at the same time, so you could hear me sound. You could probably hear me say "cool" while drowning in G-subs. Bussin'.
Hi, how are you?
Bussin'. All right, let's get it. I'm gonna get a note. All right, I'm gonna get a notepad out real quick, and I'm gonna start taking notes of the questions that I will make a video around. And then drowning. Oh no. All right, let's see it. How do you tell if you've actually raised your larynx to the right level?
Hi, how are you?
So, raising your larynx to the right level, that is a good question. So how to resonance was my first video. Let me scoot in here real quick. Okay, so how to tell if you've raised your larynx to the right level. All right, so that's a great question. It's gonna be a question that a lot of people run into when you're ultimately doing your voice training. I feel like it's actually one of the core issues that people run into is not really understanding how to make each component change ideally, right? And there's another question the other day that had to do with pitch that kind of parallels with this. So the way that you're gonna realize that you're raising your larynx to the right level is what you want to do is you ultimately want to make sure that you're not modifying your pitch at all, and you're focusing solely on the raising of the larynx itself. Now, I realize how obvious that sounds, but let me explain exactly what you're going to do. So first of all, you're going to know that you're raising your larynx too much if you start sounding like Smeagol. But also, you're going to know you raise it too much if you can't breathe. And that is legitimately something a lot of people do, is they raise it to the point where they cannot breathe. The way that you're going to know that you're raising it correctly is if you raise it at all and get the ability to speak. You want to start somewhere, right? You're not going to start right off at the perfect location right when you start, but you want to make sure that you can keep it raised and speak at the same time. And then over time, what you want to do is make sure that you are listening to the way that your voice sounds after raising your larynx while changing absolutely nothing else, if that makes sense. All right, let's see. So yeah, the way that you're going to know that you're raising the larynx to the right amount is if you're not cutting off airways, that you are holding it long enough to speak, and then over time, it's going to be you're strengthening those muscles so you can adjust it as you go, but make sure that you're not doing anything with your vocal cords, etc. First time here, thank you. I got really good recording, so that's awesome. Any apps or some way to record yourself if anyone has a tip or something. So yeah, ways that you can record yourself. Any app on the phone, like any recording app on the phone, is fine. How to record yourself. And yeah, any app on the phone is fine. And then beyond that, any app on the PC, like Audacity is really good. You know what I'm saying? It's really good for sure. And then there is one voice app I recommended in my previous video. It was an app that ultimately gauged where your voice sat in pitch, like if it sounded more femme or more mask. And you just have to make sure you're using that app correctly. Yeah, Voice Tools is the app that will ultimately it gauges whether or not your voice is in a female or male range. But understand that using voice tools, you have to use it correctly, because if you're changing your voice with pitch, you'll get into the female range easily, but you won't sound passable. So you have to make sure that you're raising your larynx primarily. Little Ren, I'm glad that helped you out, and thank you for the 5. I appreciate it a lot. Thank you. And Names Army, thanks for the membership. Thank you so much. Which one of your videos should I watch as a day one beginner? My most recent step-by-step guide. That's the best one. My voice is way too deep. Even if I raise my larynx to the very top, I still sound bad. Any advice? Okay, what if my voice is too deep? That's a good one. My voice is too deep. Okay, so understand that even if your voice wasn't deep, when you're raising your larynx and only raising your larynx, you're not gonna sound passable yet, okay? Because the larynx is a very key component, but that in pairing with mouth space and some other throat muscles that I've mentioned in my previous video, all that needs to come together to sound passable. The reality is 90% of trans femmes think their voice is too deep and that they'll never be able to achieve a voice because of it. And 100% of the time, that's not true. You can achieve the voice so long as you're raising your larynx, learning how to tighten the muscles in your throat that I mentioned in my previous video, and mouth space. That's the truth. That's the truth. There is no voice too deep, because your vocal cords are the only thing that you ultimately can't permanently change without surgery. And we're not talking using surgery here because I don't recommend that. But when your voice is deepening, your larynx is lowering and therefore creating space. But you're able to modify that space. So no matter how deep your voice is, you have control over the components that can ultimately make your voice sound feminine. I feel like a bit of a deeper woman's voice can be nice. Yeah, and that's the thing too, is when you get a passable voice, it might just sound a bit deeper, but that doesn't mean that you can't raise it as well. Like, it takes time, but you can get there. This might sound be a dumb question, but whenever I see a voice training video, they talk about stuff and I don't understand. Like, the raising the larynx so it feels overwhelming. I mean, that's just a matter of trying to break it down piece by piece, right? Like, my recent step-by-step guide, it literally breaks it down in bite-sized pieces. So, like, just do one step at a time. I'm training by repeating everything you say. That's cool. What do I do when you're sick? When you're sick, just don't voice train. Yeah, when you're sick, you're just gonna... It's not a great idea to voice train when you're sick. It's just gonna make you miserable. You're not gonna get anywhere. The best thing you can do when you're voice training is when you're sick, is just try to heal up. But you can, if you're determined, you can, like, do throat exercises and, like, learning to raise your larynx for a long period of time. What if you're too lazy to help? I can't help you with that. If you're too lazy to voice train, then understand that no one's ever going to come hold your hand and get you to have a passable female voice. If you're too lazy to voice train and you don't apply yourself, you'll never have a passable female voice. That is the truth. How long did it take you to voice train to get a voice you're happy with from starting voice training? So basically, it took me about, I think, 2 months to get to a point where I was happy with my voice. But it's one of those things that when you're training... It's actually, how long does it take? Yeah, that's a good question. It's one of those things that you'll get to a step up from where you were, and you'll be happy. But as you continue to practice, you'll look back at that step and realize that it didn't sound that great in comparison to where you're at in the future, right? It's a matter of constantly one-upping yourself until eventually you are 100% content with it. But even then, it's kind of like an art form where there's always room for improvement and stuff. How do you apply the exercises to actually doing the voice? That is a question that is something I can answer. Let me just digest it for a second. So how to actually apply the lessons. So basically, this is the answer that I believe will help most people that are having struggles with voice training. If you've ever tried to voice train, I believe that question is actually a great question, and I do believe that it's the number one reason why people don't get any progress. So, when you're voice training and you're doing it by yourself, first of all, make sure you're recording your voice. That's given. I've said that 1,000 times before, right? But also, you want to make sure that when you are recording your voice, you're not trying to cheat yourself out of progress. You know, start by raising your larynx and just learning to speak with it raised. And if you don't sound passably female yet, don't panic, because that's only one piece of the puzzle, right? Just as long as you're not like, because here's the thing, what happens most of the time is when you're voice training and you're trying to sound more feminine, you're trying to immediately jump into a more feminine sounding range. So you're adjusting your pitch and your posture is super upright and you're trying to raise your larynx and you're doing like 3,000 things at once, some of which you don't understand yet. And it's like, okay, take one step at a time. Just learn how to raise your larynx and keep it raised as you're speaking. And if that's changing the way you sound and you don't sound passable, that's fine, because all you need to know in that instance is that you need to be able to hold those muscles in place. And then from there, you can learn how to like tighten the lower muscles in your throat. I think it's like the pharyngeal muscles that are very important as well for my tutorial. So the way you'll know that you're progressing is only by breaking it down piece by piece and ironically not worrying about the way you sound right away. If that makes sense. I will leave this VOD public and I'll also make a video that's more digestible, and I'll be making that video probably for this weekend or the weekend after. Fender 60 tier 1. How do I know which specific muscles am I supposed to train? For some reason I can't do it. So you'll never know which ones are specifically the ones you're supposed to train. But because you can't see your own muscles, right? The way that you can learn how to do it is just watch my step-by-step guide, honestly. Like, the way that you learn how to do the specific muscles is like when you think of flexing your bicep, you know where your bicep is and you know how to flex it, right? Well, when you're talking about your throat muscles, you're not going to know how to flex those right away. So the tutorials that I did in my original video are there for that reason. They're using techniques to isolate the muscles while not necessarily having to think about the muscle specifically. And as you train with that first video and you learn how to raise the larynx and keep it raised, you'll inherently be doing it. I might write that down though. How do I know what muscles to train? All right. Thanks to the tier 1 Fender, I appreciate a lot, thank you. And Gallon, thanks to the 5. Just started trying to modify my voice, but I'm kind of dumb. How do you raise your larynx or tell if you are? Also, thanks for being awesome. So questions like how do you raise your larynx? I basically covered that in my first video. If you haven't seen my first video, then I would watch that and then come back after that and then ask a question specifically, because my first video has I think like 3 or 4 different techniques as to how to raise the larynx itself, and they're well articulated there. Is it bad to not record myself at the beginning? Yep. I mean, here's the thing about recording yourself. Let me say recording yourself. When to record yourself. Okay, when to record yourself. So, look, if you're not recording yourself right away, that is fine. This video will be saved on my YouTube channel, yes. If you're not recording your voice right away, that's fine. So long as you're not focusing on how you sound. Like, learn how to keep your larynx raised over time, and learn how to keep it raised while speaking. And then once you get used to that, then you want to start recording your voice. You don't need to record your voice when you're trying to keep your larynx raised and that's it. You don't need to record it then. When would be the best time to practice if I live with my transphobic parents? That is 100% subjective in your situation, honestly. That it's so variable. Like, you can have a TV in the background and stuff, but that's subjective to your situation. I've been told the back of my throat is supposed to feel like I've opened my mouth, like at the dentist, but without opening my mouth. Is that accurate? That's a very weird way to explain it. I would say no. Because you're not, because when you open your mouth at the dentist, you're opening it very wide. And in this scenario, you're trying to shrink space, right? So I would disagree with that explanation personally. Ace Belonda, thanks for the 5. Thank you so much. I saw the thing you said about hissing, and it was very helpful. Yeah. I already feel like I'm making some real progress. Yeah, hissing is a huge benefit. Again, if you are here and you don't know how to raise your larynx, watch my first video. It's helped a lot of people, especially with the larynx aspect. And hissing is a technique of that. Go watch it and then come back here and then ask me a question. Yeah, I'm live. Yeah. Do you have any tips on how I can come out to my family? That's completely irrelevant to this topic today. I wish you the best with that. At the moment, I'll redirect you to my coming out video. But we're talking about voice training today, and I wish you the best with that, sincerely. How long do you voice train when starting out? I personally started I myself started for like, I think like a half hour. So when I started voice training, I was starting to practice raising my larynx first, because you want to master that muscle before anything else. And then, yeah, and then when I was actually like, I was doing that as long as I could at work, right? Just flexing the muscle, learning how to do the hissing technique and stuff. And then was actually like recording my voice. I would do it for like 30 minutes to maybe an hour or two. But, you know, when your voice starts to get strained and you feel your muscles hurt, make sure A, you have hot water or tea. And B, you know, take breaks. You don't want to overexert yourself. You don't want to be unhealthy like that. I found that rewatching your voice training vids helps motivate me when I'm struggling to keep discipline. Yeah, I'm glad that that's the case, Loren. And thanks again for the €5. Thank you so much. Thank you. Do you, how long did it take to get your voice where it is? A long time. Like, even right now, I'm kind of underslept. Lately, I'm not going to lie, I've been having a really rough time with sleep. So I'm a bit groggy. My voice is kind of sore from talking a lot too. But my voice, like, when it's at its peak, it took me, I would say, like, you know, my journey was very sporadic. I started training for about 3 months, and then I had to move and COVID happened, and then life kind of got upside down for me for a bit, and then I stopped for about a year. So that first 3 months, I got some significant progress, and then when I picked it up about a year later, I got back to where I was relatively quick, and then I surpassed that because I was still trying to use my larynx, like raise my larynx and stuff, right? I would say that don't worry about how long it took me to get where I am, because it's going to be a matter of step by step, right? Like, you want to practice getting to your first step, and then from there, you can get to the next step. And to get to the first step how long it took me to get to a point where I was like, oh, I sound a lot more feminine, I'm happy with that. It took me like a few months. It took me like a month to 3 months. And then, you know, and then I reviewed that a few months after, and I was like, oh, I'm not happy with that. I'm going to keep training, right? So it's not about my journey. It's about you taking your steps on your journey.
Why are you running?
How do you know if your voice is feminine enough, or they can do it consistently enough? How do you practice? That's 3 different questions. How do you know if your voice is feminine enough? That's a very subjective question. You know, it's a matter of what you're happy with in the end. But if you're talking about passability, really the only way you can learn how if your voice is 100% passable is from exterior, unbiased opinions. Yeah, voice surgery is not good. Yeah, I disagree with voice surgery personally. One sec. I think voice surgery is a very dangerous thing to do. And sometimes it sounds good, but other times it doesn't sound good at all. And if you do voice training or voice surgery, you still kind of need to do voice practice. Why are you down there? I'm hiding, drinking G-subs. Thanks for the tier 1, Dream of Us. You mean going out and socializing? You can do that on VR chat. You can do it on Discord. You can do it wherever. Online is, I recommend doing it online, personally. Is voice training effective during male puberty? Yeah. Yep, that's correct. Is voice training, yeah, so, yeah, it's effective during puberty, 100%. Is talking to my blow-high and femme voice every night a good strategy? Whatever makes you comfortable. You know what actually, that's a good way, how to do it, how to voice train and not go crazy. You know, if talking to your blow-high helps, then great. I personally would go into VR chat. You know, that was like, because I was, when I first started voice training, I was, gosh, people. I was probably, gosh. Okay, stop spamming your message, please. It's very rude. When I first started voice training, I was pre-acquiring HRT, so I was very dysphoric about how I looked, right? So I personally would go into VR chat so I could find an avatar, and when I was voice training, if I was looking in a mirror, I could see the person that I wanted to look like in the future, and it kind of helped separate me from the current dysphoria. So, like, if there's any way that you can separate yourself from dysphoria when voice training, do it. I personally recommend, like, using VR chat for that. And, like, I wasn't talking to anybody. I was in a private room, recording my voice, a mirror nearby. It was good. I started voice training in VR chat, then just went fully mute. Yeah, yeah. You know, that's your decision. Ultimately, I recommend voice training in VR chat privately, and then going out there and trying to, try and find someone that you trust, but that's also going to give you honest feedback, right? Like, if someone can say in a nice way, hey, you sound like you're getting better, but, maybe it sounds airy or nasally, or maybe it just doesn't sound quite there yet, you should keep going. It hurts getting that feedback, but it's essential to you getting your progress that you need. So once you get the larynx down, what's the deal about accents? I think accents it's a very subjective thing. So it helps some people. Some accents require, the southern, the Valley Girl accents requires you to be very nasally. So it kind of gives you a reference point to learning how to speak in a higher timbre, speaking through your head voice. So some accents can help, right? But ultimately when it comes to voice training, there's so many different ways to approach things. There's not one true way that will help everybody. And that's why in my voice training video I give 7 different things you can do, because the thing that's going to resonate with you, go with that. I'm very confused. Odd looking shark plush on my bed suddenly. That's awesome. Is posture a factor in voice training? 100% it is. Yeah. Posture is 100% a factor in voice training. I used to don't over posture yourself, but here, I'll here, this is me speaking with being intentionally slouched over. And then if I was to fix my posture a lot, it brings it compresses everything in the chest and esophagus region, and ultimately it just makes it easier to raise the larynx, but it also helps to a degree with, not to a massive degree, it's not going to be game changing, but it does help elevate the voice a bit, and it just puts you in a position where it's easier to raise your larynx. Chest too heavy? Yeah, I feel that, honestly. It's been an issue for me recently. Any foods, drinks to avoid while doing voice training? Just salty things. Anything that's going to dehydrate you. Don't drink energy drinks. I know. No energy drinks when voice training, despite the memes I make. You know, you want tea, stuff like that. Trying to do voice training at least once a day? Yeah, for sure. Do it up. I'm proud of you. What's it called when you wish you're a girl and hate your voice, but you aren't trans? That's called being dysphoric and likely trans, but not wanting to have that label because of social stigma. Oh my god, hi, I'm so happy to finally catch a stream. Hi. Tea is pretty good. I like tea. Dakar, thanks for the follow. How do I not give up every time I try to do voice training? By realizing that no one's gonna save you. Look, that's like, I realize, just for a second, look, I realize how brutal that might sound, right? But one of the best moments in my life was I was at my lowest point in my life, right? I had beaten the shit out of myself, and life had beaten the shit out of me. It was a very dark period, and I was trying to voice train. It was funny enough, it was actually during voice training where I realized that no one was coming to save me. It was a situation where I had to realize that if I didn't take control of my life, that no one would help me do so. So, if you're wanting to voice train and you say it's too difficult and you don't want to do it, or you say you're lazy, that's fine. But cold water, and I'm not trying to be rude, this is only to help you. Only to help you. You will live the rest of your life without a passable female voice. That's just the way it is. You need to be the one to put your foot down and take initiative and apply discipline. You need to be able to do things that you don't want to do to get to places where you want to be. You know? What's the best way? I'm better now, yeah. Realizing that, by the way, realizing that no one was going to save me, that I had to be the one to do it, that I couldn't just, because I used to, like, wallow in my woes a lot. I won't lie. You know, I was in a dark place, and kind of one of the only things I got out of being in a dark place was feeling bad for myself. And, you know, it's a habit that I still battle every now and then. But it's also, like, realizing that there was a cycle of me debilitating myself in a way that was ultimately just working against what I wanted, helped a lot. So yeah. Yep. Helped me a lot. It saved my life. Is it normal to try to raise my larynx? It only moves up like SCM, or am I doing something wrong? So if you only look, let's see. Mine raises about 3 centimeters, between 1 to 3 centimeters. So, like, if you can raise your larynx a centimeter and then speak comfortably, just start there. You know, as long as you're raising it a bit and speaking over a long period of time, you're training and honing the muscles. And then later down the road, you can try to go higher, right? Musical scales as vocal warm-ups, and I feel like it helps with my confidence for voice training. That's great. That's great. You help me be more myself. I'm glad, Octavia. Do you offer paid one-on-one lessons? I currently don't, but it's something that I could consider. Are there characters impressions to try that will help? I recommend. Honestly, I would imitate other trans femme voices. So I have like a plethora of characters you could try to imitate. Sasha is a low femme voice on my channel that you could try to imitate. And then Grace is a high femme voice. Mine's about mid, generally speaking. So yeah, it's I recommend doing trans femme voices. But that's like not, You know, you don't have to go with that. It helps me mentally. Yes, $60,000 per lesson. Also, hi, hey Lorelai. I can't stress enough. Mickey Mouse made voice training so easy. Yeah. It's things like Stitch's voice and Mickey Mouse. They use like raising the larynx and tongue quite a bit, so that does help with the foundation for sure. You like where mine is? Yeah. If you want to mimic my voice, then go for it. 100%. One of my meme videos cracked your egg. Nice. Thank you for clarifying what posture. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, posture is like, dude, look. If you're not on HRT yet, by the way, start working on your posture now, because women's aren't joking when they say that the boobas are heavy. Like, it's actually a fucking issue. SpongeBob, help me with vocal twang. There you go. You're about to do 5 different accents and Kermit. I believe in you. I appreciate that, Violet. Would you say DMing for TT over GT could help? Oh my god, yes, dude. Yes, dude. Oh my god, dude. Okay, ironically enough, dude, I feel like probably one of the best assets for me voice training was D&D. I DM'd like for 1,000. I think my account on Roll20 has like 1,300 hours or more than that now. And I was DMing for like 98% of that. And because there's so many different like flavors of female voice I could throw in there. And then I was going from male to female voice all the time, back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. But on top of that, it was like, it separated me from my voice in a way that like, so long as I had diction and delivery and lines for these females in the world, yes, I was kind of like, oh, I hope this sounds female enough. But when you're at D&D, people don't really care. Like, a DM will usually have like a mask or femme voice, and that's it. So going out of your range to do both, oh my god, it helps so much. Yeah, 100%. Honestly, even if you're not a DM, just playing a female voice in general will help a lot. Yeah, 100%. How are you? I'm not gonna have, I'm glad that you don't have COVID. I'm good. I made, DMing Star Wars. Yeah. Yep. Do it. DM, do it. Voice train and play D&D. Win-win. Yeah, 100%. 100%. So many NB Dragon Soul sounds better on stream. Yeah, I realized that, like, you know what's funny recently is I've been told that, like, my mask voice, dude, my guy voice sounds not convincing anymore. I was told that my guy voice sounds like a female trying to sound like a guy. And I was kind of offended, but, like, it's very flattering, but also, like, offended at the same time. Yeah. That's a good sign. I know, it's a good sign. It's a sign that, like, basically what happens when you're voice training for a long period of time is... What happens is your muscles begin to get used to a specific spot, right? So I personally would go from male to female all the time. And obviously in my earlier years of transition, when I wasn't as trained, my muscles weren't as good, I was using my mask voice a lot. So like I would still sound very mask if I wasn't using my voice. But now I use my femme voice so much that I think that like it's starting to kind of like plateau there. Dirtpot things to follow. So yeah, if you use your femme voice 24/7, it'll basically default to that. Yeah. Task failed successfully? Yeah, for sure. Thanks, Misato. It's like a little switch. Eventually it becomes natural if you practice enough. Exactly, for sure. Is doing voice training worth it even if I don't know what or who I am? Yeah, I think it is. 100%. I think that, like, you know, there's always a net positive in learning something that you're interested in. Like, if you learn something... Like, I was learning Japanese for about a year. And unfortunately, I didn't finish learning Japanese because I ended up doing content and that consumed my life. But, you know, taking that year to learn hiragana, katakana, basic sentence structures was a very, like, empowering thing. And it made me feel really good. It's also kind of like your brain's kind of like a muscle too, right? So, like, if you're practicing something... You're doing reps for your brain, and it helps you learn and do other things. Yeah. 100%. I train while at home by thinking out loud, like using a treadmill while playing video games. There you go. That's good. How many minutes a day do you recommend we practice for? I would say, so there is no set amount of time that is ideal. It's going to be subjective for where you're at, right? A good rule of thumb is make sure, so long as you're not strained, make sure that you train every day, as long as you're not already like strained so you don't hurt yourself. But your voice lessons shouldn't be any longer than when your voice begins to get sore. You know? Like, take breaks. If you start feeling strain, understand that you're not going to get it in a day. Don't hurt yourself. If you start feeling strain, drink some hot tea, take a break. If you can do it again later, then fine. But if you start doing it again later and you immediately feel that same strain, wait a day, get back on it like a day later. Why do you have a sub? Probably because of gift subs. Yeah, if you're sick, it's not worth it. Any other questions? Yes. Agency, thanks for the follow. How do you avoid tension and stressing unneeded muscles? Good question. How do you avoid tension? First of all, you avoid tension by not hyperextending muscles. Like, a very common thing that people do when they're training is they try to go to the extreme. Like, the example earlier was the larynx. People raise their larynx and like, oh, I want to sound femme, so I need to raise my larynx super duper high, and then they can't breathe, and then they're straining their muscles ridiculously hard, right? It's about finding the proper positioning. It's not about overexerting anything, right? So, doing things with caution, focusing on the sounds eventually. But, yeah, so avoid tension and stressing unneeded muscles by pacing yourself, by having hot tea nearby, taking moments to hydrate, taking breaks just like any other muscle. But also, unneeded muscles is just a matter of focusing on where it's tense. Like, if you're raising your larynx and you feel your jaw muscles are tense, then you're focusing a area that is not necessarily, you know, if your jaw muscles are tensing, then you're focusing muscles that aren't your larynx muscles, and just start learning how to keep the larynx raised while not having those other areas tensed. Hey Waldy. Hi, thank you so much for the 20. I'm going around different trans content creators to say thank you for helping crack my egg back in May. Still undercover for safety reasons. Hey, thank you. I've been practicing for years without knowing it, and your bits helped. I'm glad. Thanks so much for the 20. It means a lot. Will the voice training carry over to how you sing? It can. Yeah. When I'm singing, I'll accidentally default to my femme voice. Thank you for the tip. I've been tensing my jaw way too much. Yeah. Any tips on sounding softer while still being audible? I mean, it's just a matter of like, here, like, again, this is not overexerting, right? Like, and overexerting here isn't the right term, but like, if you're like trying to talk super soft and stuff, then don't be afraid to have a little bit of chest voice, right? A lot of people are like afraid to put air behind their words because they don't want to sound over masculine. But when you realize that, you know, you're able to put a lot of gumption behind what you say and still sound feminine, as long as you're utilizing the muscles correctly, then you'll be fine. You know, don't try to speak soft, basically. Try to speak in the right area, and then you can, if you want to speak softer, sometimes that's fine, but you want to have a good baseline. Hey, Wild. I hope you're having a good day. Thank you, you too. I found out a way to change my pitch. Whistling was... Been moving my larynx? True. Damn, okay. That's a good one to know. Noted. How do you recognize the larynx and resonance and softness? I just can't feel anything by my voice training, and it's very demoralizing. Well, the way that you want to do that, again from earlier, it's basically just when you're trying to like practice the first steps, don't worry about how you sound right away. Like, just worry about keeping your larynx raised and learning how to speak with your larynx raised. You know? And then, like, once you can say, like, a sentence or two with your larynx raised, you know, then you can start worrying about, like, mouth space and your throat muscles and stuff. But, like, if you focus on everything right away and you're worried about how you sound, you're just working against yourself. Break it down piece by piece. Yugoslavian? Hi, I am. I cracked my egg when I was 11. Yeah, me too. I cracked at 14. Word. What should I do if my voice was... Okay, what should I do if my voice is being too tall? I keep noticing people looking up whenever... Okay. Okay, Lorelai. Okay. Funny joke. Mindy, thanks for the follow. Nice to have you here. Hello, you can chat. Hi, what's going on? Yeah, I realized I wanted... I mean, if I knew a transition one when I was a kid, I'd be all over it, but... You know, I'm an adult. We come from a different time. Different things change. It's beautiful that people have the option these days, and that makes me very happy for them. I'm a cis male. How do I be more masculine and cis? Just be an alpha Chad. Do chin-ups, 15 push-ups a day, run a mile. You know what I'm saying? Do some sit-ups. Eat some gum to get a chiseled jawline. And slay, King. I believe in you. Do you have any advice for training while staying quiet, as my family's not happy with how I train? Yeah, just learning to raise your larynx. No, you're fine, Lorelai. It's good. Learning to raise your larynx is one of the things you can do. Yeah, T-pose also, if you want to be more alpha Chad, just T-pose. Go slay, homie. Go bag some ladies. I believe in you, man. Follow the Forrest Gump stuff. Not sure what that is. I figured out how to change my resonance without needing to pay attention to larynx. But I don't really know what to do now. So are you saying you're speaking and raising your larynx at the same time without paying attention, or are you saying you're changing your resonance without raising it? How do you keep a femme voice? Just by practicing and using the voice over long periods of time. You know, like a femme voice is something that when you start, you'll maybe be able to say a sentence or two, and then it's going to get sore. But eventually you can speak for 10 minutes, then 20, then an hour, etc. I had severe trans friends online, like half of them are trans. That's cool. Oh, several? Gotcha. Hi, a female to male queer here. Hey, Ray. Nice to see you here. For writing reasons, how do I destroy my voice? What? I'm not sure what you mean. I'm kind of giving my gag reflex when I raise my larynx. I just started... So, yes, if you're getting a gag reflex when you're raising your larynx, you are definitely overdoing it. 100%. What is the best change from HRT? Subjective. I'm able to sing with my femme voice enough. Nice. Okay, cool. On day 2 of voice training, I've been noticing strain after a few minutes, so most likely me doing something wrong. Yeah, if you notice strain after a few minutes of voice training, you are likely overexerting muscles. How do you voice train with a very deep voice? Just one step at a time. Learning to raise your larynx. You know, 90% of trans femmes think their voice is too deep to be passable. 100% of the time, that's not true. It's just a matter of... you know, over time, learning to keep the larynx raised, and then once you have that core component down, moving into mouth space and pitch and other stuff like that. Is a vocal therapist worth getting if you can get them cheap? And yes. I don't know any other trans people besides my sister in college. That's fair. Is it weird for people to tell you have a gender-neutral voice? No, it's fine. I feel like I'm probably speaking in a rather gender-neutral voice right now. It's totally fine. Motators, thanks for the follow. I have a friend that his voice is like very gender-neutral. It's crazy, and he doesn't try to like change it at all. He just has a very soft voice. Love him voices aren't just valid, but also lovely. True. But the thing is like, even if you have like a low mask voice, your femme voice won't necessarily be low. A lot of the reason why your voice is deep is because of the larynx positioning and mouth space. But you can change both those things. So found my feminine vocal range, but the issue is it's almost resting on a point where my voice cracks. Okay. Like, if I were to yell, what? It either cracks super hard or I have to drop all the way down. Obviously, mask range. What do I do? Okay, so if your voice is cracking, that is something that, so long as you're consistent and not overexerting, will resolve itself. That is something that is more a staple of being inexperienced with your muscles and stuff. Like, they just need to strengthen a bit. But, like, yelling with a female voice is very difficult. Like, yelling is something that once you're pro, like, once you've mastered your voice, worry about yelling. It's very difficult to yell and sustain a voice right away. And that's something that took me a long time. Like, I was like, I think this year I finally started to learn how to do it because of voice acting, because I needed to. But, like, yelling is something that is, you know, you don't want to try and start doing that right away. You like using voice in public, but some people talk about voice training, and I don't know if this effect is a satisfaction for me. I don't know what you're trying to say, S-Pack. Thanks for follow, Lou. Thoughts on voice training in the car, so long as you're not distracting yourself from the road. Can't wait to become a professional yapper. I believe in you. And IPN, thanks for the follow. Don't forget to train your... Okay. Yeah. Cloud, thanks for the membership, yo. Appreciate that. Thank you. Did you arrive late? No. Yeah, voice training in the car is fine. I think that, like, if you feel safe in any environment to voice train, I think that's a good and healthy thing. I think it's worth it. So long as you're not distracting yourself is the most important thing. Like, I used to work night shifts at this place, and during that time, I would, like, be practicing raised my larynx and speaking with it raised. And I try to, like, speak more femme when there was no one around, and it was, you know, that was where I started. When I was voice training while driving, and there was a point where I got pulled over for it because I had my window wipers going, and I was driving at it was like Saturday night or Friday night, right? So I just went for a drive downtown because I had roommates, and I was voice training, and I got pulled over because my window wipers were doing their thing, and it wasn't raining. So they thought I was drinking and driving, but no, I told them what was going on. They didn't ticket me or anything, thank God. But yeah, they were just like, hey, your window wipers are going, and, you know, it's Friday night. What you doing? I was like, oh, just driving, bro. Just trying to get my voice. But yeah, distracted driving is never really a good thing. I've been having a hard time separating resonance and pitch. I'm not sure if I'm overusing my pitch. So, if you don't know if you're overusing your pitch or not, rule of thumb is you're probably overusing your pitch. I'll say that right now. The best way, I feel like that's probably the most asked question, and I'm happy that that's being asked again, because I'll be addressing that in the video a lot. So, the best way to make sure that you're only focusing on resonance when you're using your voice training, resonance, is by not worrying about how you sound. Literally, it sounds so counterintuitive, but it makes sense when you think about it. If you're worrying about how you sound constantly when you're voice training, the likely reflex is going to be compensating in areas to get to a more feminine sound. But what you want to do is not worry about how you're sounding and just worry about speaking with your larynx raised and then speaking with your mouth, with your tongue positioning raised as well for mouth space, right? And then eventually, when you're not worrying about how you sound, you'll realize you sound more feminine inherently, right? So, like, once you have the point where you're not worried about how you sound, you're raising your larynx, your mouth space is shrunk, you're going to inherently sound more feminine. It might be a lot of trial and error, but once you get that and you have a voice recording of that, you can imitate it. And then from there, yeah, you can apply your pitch and stuff. But to get that foundation is the most important thing. Voice surgery, yes or no? No, absolutely not. 100% no. It's unsafe. It is expensive. It's very risky. But ultimately, like 9 times out of 10, you don't sound passable with voice surgery. You still need, like, sometimes people do, but more often than not, you still need to raise your larynx and stuff anyway. So it's just a lot of risk for no benefit. See you talk. Is there something wrong with me if I'm going to spend 3 days of my life to do a barbecue? I don't know what to say about that, Chloe. I don't know. Are you okay? Is this a cry for help? I think this might be. I really struggle with nasally tone and my voice breaking on vowels, but other than that, I've been told I have a pretty voice. That's good. It's the struggle been at it a year. That's good. It's about if you have an overly nasally voice, just, you know, speak with a bit more of your chest voice, and then from there try to raise it up into your throat and mouth area. Like, if you notice my voice when I'm talking, I probably am the most obnoxious sounding trans femme on YouTube. I'm always yelling, and my voice generally has like a pretty lively tone to it. But you know, like if I were to speak more like nasally, then yeah, I could like be up here. But that's like, it's just not convincing. Yeah. Just speak from your chest. Say from your chest. What counts as a nasally voice? It's when you like talk way up here and like you're like, oh my god, like I'm so slay. It's your voice comes from your nose, because like voice resonance comes from 2 places: your mouth and your nose. And if you're leaning too far into your nose, that's a nasally voice. Thank you, Nia. 2 days for a barbecue must have been a hell of a barbecue. True. Your voice is goals. I appreciate that for sure. My voice is actually kind of sore, I think, from the amount of streaming. I've done a lot of streaming lately and a lot of talking, but yeah, my voice is kind of like fucked right now. Talking feels physically uncomfortable. Chloe, I'm just gonna hide you on my channel. You're kind of like, okay, good for you. Talking feels physically uncomfortable. What do I do? Physically uncomfortable, like when you're using a femme voice, that just takes time and practice. Does nasality contribute to brightness? Yeah, using some of your nasal for voice training is a good tool, but it's one of those things that if you use it too much, just like anything else, you will begin to go too far and sound too, you know, one direction, right? You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to repeat random things you're saying while raising my larynx, but I'm not sure if I'm doing it right. That is hard for me to speak on. My voice is somewhat in the gray area between mask and femme. That's good. You know your voice sounds different when your cat looks at you and slaps your leg. Hey, ho, stop doing that. Thanks for the follow, Uham. What's really infuriating is the fact that I actually enjoy the way my falsetto voice sounding, resonating in my head. When I record it, it sounds really well, not bad, but not necessarily nice. Yeah, falsetto voice, falsetto is just you using your pitch a bunch, right? So, like, yeah, it's not going to sound great when you just use your falsetto. Hey, Fishy. I'm glad. You fell into the bad habit of using too much nasal voice, but be really careful. Yeah. You want to be careful with it for sure. It's about finding a balance with all of this. And that's the reason why, like, recording your voice is so important. Like, when you're voice training, you want to make sure that you're recording your voice once you're in the actual swing of it. Like, when you're holding your larynx up and you're consistently having it raised, there is a point where you want to record your voice and you want to always have a recording of your voice going. Because, like, here is what happens, right? And this is, dude, I swear to God, like, this is going to make or break your progress. I swear to God. You know how I said earlier that it's going to be trial and error with speaking and raising your larynx and mouth space? Like, not focusing on how you sound is very important when you first start, because eventually you'll inherently sound more femme accidentally, so long as you're raising your larynx, your mouth space, and applying some trial and error. Well, if you record the soundbite in which you actually sound more femme, first of all, you'll recognize that sounds more femme. Second of all, imitating your own voice is the best way to apply muscle memory. And muscle memory is going to make or break your progress, because having a voice sample that sounds more femme from resonance alone is like once you have that sound sample, you listen to that and you imitate your own voice, and then you practice with that as your foundation. And then in that next training session, you have that foundation to always go back to if you ever get lost, which you 100% will. And then in that session, ideally, you get a voice sample that sounds even better. And then you save that one, and that's your foundation. That's a cycle that I did constantly. Like having one good, because I would get like I still do it if I'm trying to like practice voices to this day, because like Grace's voice is very high pitched, right? So I was like training for a few hours, and then I got a sound sample that sounded extremely passably femme, and then I would imitate my own voice from that sound sample and then move from there. It's so good. It's also, I think there was a meme in a meme video I did where it was Toph, right? If you saw my meme videos, you might remember the one where Toph is like, it's a trans mask meme with Toph, and I did her voice in a very high resonance manner, and I used that. So voice recording is so important. How can you make your voice sound better if you have an ever so slight lisp, heavy S sounds? I have a lisp right now because of braces. You know, I have a lisp right now. It's not gonna work against you. I've like had to do like voice therapy to get rid of the lisp, but it's still definitely there if you listen closely. I know you're right, but I'm gonna complain anyway because I know you get it. I 100% understand. Yeah, it sucks. Voice, like listening to your own voice, is the most painful thing, and the only way I could really get through that was through VR chat and just like recording my voice in a fictitious setting. I've been voice training for a while. I can only do it for so long before it starts to hurt. Yeah, and that's fine. Knowing your limitations is very important. Don't overexert yourself. All that stuff for sure. It'll get easier over time. You know. Finally got to a point where the most part of my voice is in my head. Stays as a girl voice. That's awesome. Does it help to copy that, or just see where voice training takes me as a whole, and not really worry about it? For the most part, my voice in my head mostly stays as girl's voice. Oh, like your thoughts? I mean, don't like. It's a very odd question, and not in a way that's diminutive of your situation at all. It's just one I haven't heard of before. I would say don't worry about what your head voice sounds like your actual thoughts. Worry about imitating a voice you can audibly hear, so you can compare it accurately. What are your thoughts on Voice Tools app? I see a lot of people recommend it. The Voice Tools app, very good app. With a huge asterisk, okay? Look, Voice Tools, for those that don't know, is an app that you can download for free that basically says whether or not your voice is in a mask or femme range. Very useful. But only useful if you use it correctly, because you can cheat it and use your falsetto, and anybody can use a falsetto, and it'll be in the female range, but that's not passable. You need to make sure that you're focusing on only resonance when you're using that. What's my thought on my voice? I am very content with my voice right now. I'm not very happy with it. My voice right now is hoarse, and I'm kind of losing it because of overexerting these past few days. But when I'm at my peak, my pinnacle, I'm very happy with my voice. There's also a website that gives a voice pitch graph. Yeah, exactly. Just want to say I'm closet trans, and your videos have been helping me a ton while getting through it. I'm going to try and tell my mom tonight. I wish you the best. Yes. Yeah. So resonance is the big key to training. Resonance is one of the main keys to training, yeah. Vocal weight, huh? It has something to do with loudness, but which muscles are supposed to use or avoid using when trying to make our voice lighter? To make your voice lighter, it's a matter of like, in my case, I use a lot of chest voice, but like a bit less chest voice, focusing on raising the larynx a bit more, mouth space a bit like more tight as well, and then like the weight of your voice helps a lot, especially when you first start out, but eventually it's something that you can like play with, right? Like if I would like to talk like how I've been this entire time, using a lot of chest voice. My larynx is pretty relaxed, but it's still raised. But like if I wanted to make it lighter, then I would apply less breath to my vocals, right? I would apply less breath to what I'm saying, basically. Miss Eco, how long should I voice train per day? That is 100% subjective on your muscles. You know? It's like, if you start getting sore after 15 minutes, take a break after 15 minutes. You have a genetic thing that prevents you having full control of your tongue. Is that an issue? That is a situation where I personally don't know. I'm not like necessarily a doctor. I would say that it's gonna work against you, but you should still be able to get like you should be able to get there, but it's gonna definitely work against you. Yeah, 20 minutes is about where I started too. 20-30 minutes. Is it better to train for long periods of time, or is it better to train for small times? It's a matter of your comfortability. There's times where, like, when you first start, small periods of training is ideal. Like, I start with 20 minutes, but then eventually, you know, the only way to use my voice for a longer period of time was to use it for a longer period of time, right? So, like, after, like, a year or 6 months of using my voice, and I could only speak for like 15 minutes. It was a matter of like, it wasn't necessarily training at that point, but I was just utilizing my voice as much as I could so I could speak for like an hour, then 2 hours, and 3 hours, and then so on and so forth. 10-30 minutes is a fine go-to for the very beginning. Yeah, I would say like 10 minutes might be a bit too short. 20 minutes, between 20 to 30 is usually ideal, because the first 10 minutes you want to be focusing on the core components, like raising larynx and stuff, and then you kind of want to try to like implement it. Any recommendations on, but if you can only do 10 minutes, only do 10 minutes. How do I voice train? Any recommendations on exercise that can help with the resonance training? My first video, Lunwin, has a lot on that. I recommend watching that. How do I voice train if I don't have a place to do it? Parents, you know, that's like, again, that's subjective. Like, it's like, you can play music in your room and then do it very quietly, go for a walk. You know, it's, I can't really tell you where is safe to do it. You kind of have to think outside the box and find a safe place to do it. Akel, thanks. I'm glad that you like the music. Me too. Yeah, I'm a huge fan of rock and roll. I feel like Guilty Gear XRD music is really, really good. So, big fan of it. For sure. Got a root canal. Half my tooth is now hollow. Life is now pain. We'll have time to voice train. Shadow, thanks for the 5. Yo, thank you so much. You know, if voice training hurts your tooth, or you have like an injury, I would say just wait. You know, you want to like, the thing with voice training, and it's kind of like, it might be, you know, it might sound counterintuitive, but I feel like a lot of the issue with voice training is the mental side of it. Like, let's be real, right? If we weren't worried about dysphoria and having to hear our own voice, I think that would be 90% of the pain, the difficulty solved, right? Like, if you didn't have to worry about all of that, it'd be so much fucking easier. So that's why it's like also really important to make sure that you're setting yourself up for success in that regard. I'm all about saying, you know, put some grit into it, put your back into it, and like, you know, take control of your life and be strong and all that stuff. And I you know, I'm a huge advocate for realizing that, you know, when in life you need to be able to do things when you don't want to succeed and get to where you want to go. But in scenarios like this, to do that sometimes means making a healthy environment to do exactly that, to find ways to do it that's so it's not going to destroy you, right? Like, I personally had gone into VR chat to help with my dysphoria when voice training, right? That's what I would do all the time. For the first 3 months, I eventually would only voice train in VR chat. And if I did it outside of it, I would start feeling like shit. So, like, find a way to voice train that makes you feel healthy and happy and content. And then that's like part of the battle over, right? Yeah, I can't stand listening to my own voice as well. I fucking hated it. But in VR chat, when you're still dysphoric, and usually speaking, when people are trying to voice train, in a general sense, either you're just starting HRT or you've done it for a long time. Either which way, it's like if you can eliminate dysphoria from the equation, and in this scenario, I was personally just starting HRT. I wasn't even started yet when I first started training. Having a female avatar that I thought, I want to look like when I transitioned helped so much. Because, like, it got to a point where I could, like, look in a mirror and use my usual mask voice and still be like, you know what, I'd be happy looking like this with this voice. And it gave me that extra encouragement and strength I needed to get through the dysphoria. So, yeah, I highly recommend, being nice to yourself and setting yourself up for success. But then also realizing that you have to still implement the time needed to get to where you want to go. You're not supposed to do rough, clearing your throat, cough if you want to maintain your femme voice, but I do it out of habit. Is it really that bad? So when you VR chat is so scary though. No. I wouldn't go into VR chat worlds. I would go into a private world. No one could enter. And I would just be in my own, like, little room with my PC, because, like, when you're in VR chat and you're using it on PC, you can have your desktop display in the virtual environment, right? So I was able to control my recording software within VR chat itself, and then I'd be in my own private environment where no one could, like, talk to me or hear me. Very, very, it also, like, I had roommates at the time. It helped me separate myself from the environment I was in, So I didn't really care if other people heard me. You can play VR chat on Oculus Quest 2. Yeah. I would use the VR chat. I would use VR headsets was the main thing. So yeah, if you clear your voice by coughing, that basically it lowers your larynx is the main issue. I need this when my parents are asleep. Well, if you're worried about waking up your parents, then like, just make sure you're not going too loud. Imagine you going to a public VR chat world and voice training in the corner. Just this fucking like psychotic little bean. Key seriously, man. Just like in the corner rocking back and forth. Yeah, I can see that. Is that bitch crazy? She crazy, man. How do you work on being louder while maintaining a feminine voice? Basically, like when you first start out, you're probably like speaking very soft, and like I do sound more femme when I speak soft. But eventually, like, as you get more confident with using the muscles, and the muscles are strengthened, you can apply more and more tone and more breath to it. So, like, it's just a matter of, when you're voice training, at first, you're speaking very soft to maintain the muscles and positioning. But over time, as you're training and doing that, they're strengthening. So you can slowly apply a bit more breath as you go. One way I helped train was my larynx was holding a swallow, if that makes sense. Yeah, so that was a very common old technique that the community had adopted. But there's actually, holding a swallow has potential medical risks associated with it. So, in good faith, I can't recommend doing that anymore. I know I used to do that as well, but there is potential risks of hypertension and stuff that you need to take into account. So I have a voice training video that has safe and actually more effective ways to raise your larynx. I'm nothing without my int and end stats. Yeah. True. How do you go about developing a feminine pacing of speech, like aside from your voice, stuff like annotation and just your speed and pacing? I don't know, man. I mean, like, look, that's like, I feel like, generally speaking, once you get your voice there, I don't know, that's a whole conversation in itself, and I'm kind of split on how I feel about it. Because, like, I personally don't think that you should feel obligated to change the way that you speak from something you're not comfortable with. Like, I personally, I can be pretty tomboyish in how I speak sometimes and pretty goofy. But sometimes, like, generally speaking, I have a relatively feminine approach to how I speak. And it's kind of just like a natural thing that I've developed over time. But, like, if I were to, like, sit there and, like, think about, oh, I need to speak proper and my nose needs to be up and I just, oh my God, girly. Like, I think authenticity is so important. And, authenticity is very important. And over time, as you get more comfortable with yourself and presenting as femme, you'll probably articulate and speak more femme, but don't try to speak more femme. Just worry about being comfortable and happy. And that's what's most important in my opinion. But if you really do want to if you really do want an answer to that, then proper pronunciation, certain words in your dialogue should change. Try not to swear too much, like stuff like that. But I don't feel comfortable in good faith telling people to do that because I think that there's no one way where women speak. Like in reality, there are some women that have very like bro dude attitudes, and there's some women that have very proper and feminine attitudes. There are some women that are valley girls. There are some women that are very, they're cow girls. They're fucking, they're out in the sticks. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, there's no proper way to speak. Be comfortable. Be yourself, ultimately. And over time, if you start speaking more feminine, then that's great. But, yeah, that's all I have to say about that. How often and for how long should I voice train? It's a matter of stop voice training when you start to feel sore. Try to voice train every day. At first, it'll be like 10 to 30 minutes. Question, not sure if is there a reason why you want me to do my masculine voice? Because telling me like that's kind of like rude. But if there's a reason why it might help your training process, then fine. Otherwise, I'm going to ignore that. But you need to explain to me why you want me to. I remember, guys, hydrate while you train. Hydration's important. Mind if I make a recommendation that helped me? Yeah, go for it. That's a helpful answer, thank you. I have quite a few things I feel like I want to change, but how I speak in general, even beyond a mask voice. Yeah, 100%. I personally, I feel like I stopped swearing naturally, but I also began to not really like when I swore. Like there was a point in my transition about a year or two in where I was like, oh, I don't like, when I swear with a feminine voice, I didn't like it. And I stopped swearing because I didn't like it. So that was doing something that made me feel comfortable. Thanks, Jado. My family yesterday at my aunt and uncle's cottage didn't know it was me and I walked in. That's awesome. Does vodka count as hydration? No. Quick question. Does singing in a higher key and trying to maintain that higher key help? I do black metal. Nah, look, there's a lot of people that say voice training and singing are great in hand. But I personally believe that if you want to sing when you're voice training, you need to be experienced in voice training first. Like, going right out the gate and trying to sing is going to likely coax you into using a lot more pitch than using your actual voice, right? So I personally believe that you want to start at the root. You want to learn how to raise your larynx, speak, get the foundations, and then if singing helps you, great, but work your way into it once you have the tools needed. Is being trans idol very difficult? No, it's not. Is raising your larynx the same as raising the Adam's apple? Yeah, it's the same thing. Yeah, the larynx is the Adam's apple. It's just the medical term for it. I'm male to female. I've been trans for about a year, 2 months. Nice. I know if I'm relying too much on pitch. How do I know if I'm using resonance over pitch? Again, yeah, that's definitely the most asked question here. The most important thing when you're voice training is at first, don't worry about the way you sound. I feel like a lot of voice teachers, I don't know if they would say that, I don't know if they disagree with that, but I believe it's 100% true, that if you're worried about the way you sound when you first start training, it's more of a psychology thing, in the fact that you're going to be, and like this is like, it's 100% a psychological reason as to why I'm saying it, is if you're worried about the way you sound and you're focusing on how you sound right away, then you're going to try and compensate naturally. So what you need to do is focus only on learning how to raise your larynx and speaking with it raised. And then, oh, it was 11 cents. It's with the conversion, it was 11 cents. I do appreciate it. Either way. So basically, it's, you know, it's like a matter of learning how to keep it raised. And then when you're speaking and keeping it raised, eventually you'll inherently sound more feminine. And then you have your foundation, and then you can worry about applying pitch later. But it's a matter of, again, don't worry about the way you sound right away. Focus on raising your larynx, focus on the mouth space, focus on the throat muscles tensioning, and that's it. And then worry about pitch and stuff after that. Worry about how you sound once you have that basis down. It's like learning how to raise those components and manage those components is like the foundation of a house. If you build a house without a foundation, it will crumble before you've even finished it. But if you build the foundation and you build that strong first, you can then build a large house on top of it, right? Well, not worrying about how you sound and learning how to flex those muscles and raise the components needed is building that foundation. Does a singing coach actually remotely help with voice training, or a singing coach will not help you like a voice? I think that there's some parallels. Like if you've been singing your entire life and you've gotten to the point where you're a professional and you know mouth space, because like for singing, mouth space does play a role. And I don't know if a larynx control does as well, but maybe it does. There is some conversion there, but 90% of the time, you don't want to do singing right away. You want to work your way into that. You want to get the foundation first. Is there a coach that do you know that speaks in Spanish? I personally don't know any. No. One thing that really helped is tracking my progress is voice recordings. Yeah, voice recordings is the most important thing. I was saying that earlier. I don't feel like mouth space makes any difference whatsoever. It does. Singing taught me the exact opposite because they wanted me to open up the back of my throat. Yeah. See, that's if it's gonna train you backwards. And the issue is like, look, if you're practicing singing, dude, you're gonna be overcompensating. You're gonna be using your pitch a lot more than your actual resonance. Change your mind. Thank you so much for the 20 IMRA. I appreciate a lot. Thank you so much. And I won't try and change your mind. But there are dog girls and raccoon girls. Well, let's not forget that representation. What about gag reflexes? If you have a gag reflex when you're training, you're overexerting your larynx. There is 100% a range of flex for the larynx that is overexertion. And it's a very common issue where people think that they need to exert as much as possible because they want to sound as femme as possible. But it's like, you know, you have to find the right area. It's not about pushing all of your force into it. Pretty sure it doesn't, but doing this training isn't gonna be like, you can only use a feminine voice now. I mean, like, here, yo. My dude voice, people say sounds like a chick trying to sound like a guy. So, like, this is me, I'm using my guy voice right now. This is me trying to speak comfortably in, like, a guy voice, right? It's a matter of how much you use the voice. It genuinely does. Yeah, see, it's like, look, because I've been using my feminine voice so much, I've been slowly losing my mask voice. But if I were to speak like this all day, then I would, like, it still passes as femme. There's no way this passes as femme, but I very much appreciate that. I would eventually get to a point where I sounded more mask. But yeah, since I'm using my femme voice 24/7 at this point, it's kind of hard for me to get into a mask range, ironically enough. You sound like a guy's girl? That's crazy. I have the deepest voice, and I'm sad about it. I mean, my voice generally is deeper than this. It definitely passes. You're using male pitch, but all the other habits are still femme. Yeah, not. That's the thing, though. It's like, yeah, it's just because it's muscle memory. So, like, when I'm speaking, my muscle is just like, oh, I'm gonna be raised up. but my larynx actually is a bit lower, and my mouth space is a bit wider. It sounds like you only lowered your pitch. I promise I didn't. I promise I didn't. DC, all right. If I were to like lower my pitch, this is like, yo, what's up? It's me, Yuko EX. That's me like with my femme voice, larynx raised, lowering my pitch. They say you sound like a girl. That's fucking crazy, dude. See, yeah. So to a degree, you kind of lose your mask voice, but like you can get it back. You don't permanently lose it. Hey, gals, can have deep voices too. Yeah, I mean, I'm glad that you think that. I hope one day I lose my mask range. Yeah, it's a really cool aspect. It's a cool thought. When I first saw a comment about like, oh, your boy voice doesn't sound convincing, I was kind of like, how dare you, big heads? Well, why I oughta. And then I realized that like, no, there's a deep part of me that's actually very happy about it. But it is difficult because, you know, for voice acting, I voice male characters, so I do need to keep that range. So it's almost like I need to intentionally use my mask voice or something. Practice it. You actually fun with your male voice? I just want to switch. That's fair. Yeah. Good off my learn. Okay. I'm not that old. What the hell? I know a few girls that are in the baritone range for just talking. Yeah, I've heard some femme voices that are very deep for sure. I'd ask if I'm not really sure if I'm trans. You want to do a femme voice so I can play NPCs in D&D games without feeling bad about voicing them? That's fine. Like, you don't have to be trans to voice act or voice train. Look, if anybody tells you that you can't get a passable voice because you're not trans, they're gatekeeping and they're cringe. Gatekeeping is cringe. If you want to get a passable female voice for D&D, fucking go for it. 100%. Do it. Slay. I'm very doubtful about if I'm trans or not. I'm kind of scared of trying to have a feminine identity. It's, again, I can't really talk on that today because this is voice training, but I wish you the best in learning yourself. Yeah, gatekeeping equals cringe, for sure. I feel like my brain does not understand I'm a girl all the time, a week. Again, voice training questions today, but I wish you the best in finding who you are. In 10 years, I'm going to train my mask voice in the car instead. Yeah, you gotta... I'm gonna start training my mask voice, and then I can do female to male voice lessons. Like, hey, what's up? This is Yuko EX. This is me. 2 months on testosterone. This is my voice. When I tried my femme voice, I also seem to lose volume and become airy. Any suggestions? If you're losing volume and becoming airy, then that just means that you're not applying enough, like, breath. Like, do you hear how, like, okay, when I'm applying less breath to a point where I'm airy, it actually sounds less convincing than if I were to speak, like, with gumption. So it's literally just, you know, don't be afraid to be loud. And if when you start to raise your amount of air pushed into each word and you lose them, if you lose the muscles when you're trying to speak louder and more confident, then that means that you need to train the muscles to retain that higher breath application. To me, personally, I've recently been training how to yell as Grace's voice. Like, with Grace's voice, one sec. I don't know. My voice is very sore today, so I don't know if I can do it. But let's see. Oh god, it's so loud. Holy shit, my pitch is... Oh, my gain. Do you seriously? Do the 17, bro. Do the 17, bro. So Grace's voice is, like, way up here, right? And, like, if I were to try and yell as Grace's voice, I can do it now. But if you were to ask me to do that about a month ago, I would have went back down to my mask voice. I would have completely lost it. Sorry about the buzzing. You're Grace? Yeah, I'm Grace. What? Why? Did you not know that? Oh yeah, I voice Grace, Ryota, Iziki, myself. I voice them all. Sasha. Yeah. Are you graceful? No. I'm everything but. I've been seeing people use the term size and weight for voice training. Are those the same thing as resonance, or are they different? I feel like weight is there's definitely passover. You know, like resonance and weight, they definitely have relations, but they're slightly different. Yuko voices Yuko? I know. What a plot twist. Chaos Gremlin? Yeah, for sure. Hot and cold water for throat hydration and just general comfort. I tend to prefer hot drinks, but maybe something is objectively correct. When you're voice training, I personally recommend using warm water. Hot water is great, warm water is great too, because it really does help soothe the muscles that you're using constantly. It helps so much. It's crazy. Am I a voice actor? Yes, I am. Yes. Can you imitate famous voices? For training? Sure. Go for it. Just curious, how many actors do you voice? Or how many characters do I voice? I can do a reel right now. Yo, yo, yo. I voice Shay. Dude, whoa, whoa, whoa. I voice Ryota. Definitely kind of the same voice, but with different pitches and approaches to the voice. I can't really do a mask voice right now. I realize that. So it's not going to be as impressive. But I voice Shay. I voice Ryota. Dude, seriously, it's the album of the car about it. I voice Iziki. I voice... Dude, seriously, alright. This is so soon, bro. I voice Grace. Dude, alright. Alright. I voice Sasha. And obviously Yuko Alter. And then I also voice myself. So there is... 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different voices that I can do that are very much discernible as their own identity. So there's like 6 different voices I can use that sound like different voice actors. And then I can apply different dialects and methods of speech and stuff to make them sound like other characters beyond that. Into the Ecoverse? Yeah, exactly. I appreciate that, Beelans. Can't wait to become the master of voice changing when I master feminine voice. Yeah, that's the thing too, is like I have that range, but you can too. There's nothing like, look, it's super important. And let me just actually, this is kind of like more of a psychological thing, but when it comes to like watching a content creator or listening to a trans femme that's had years of experience in voice training, or a voice actor, there's nothing that makes them special. There's nothing that makes me special. And I realize that might sound diminutive of who I am, and I'm sure someone's gonna be like, "Oh, you're special, please, please, please." But no, there's a different reason why I'm saying that. Nothing makes me different in a way that allows me to achieve something that you can't. You know? So when it comes to like voice training, as an example, and having a passable female voice, you might see me and be like, "Oh, she's so impressive. She did this, and oh my god, I wish I could be like that." Well, you can be, because there's nothing that makes me different from you. And I don't know why this pep talk is coming out, but realizing that like no one in the world is special allows you to realize that there's nothing that makes them an individual that can have things that you can't. Yes, so some people are born into wealth, etc. But in talking about learning skills, you 100% have it in you to do the same. And I don't know why this pep talk came out, but it's just, I feel like that's a very important mental block for people. It's like looking at people and idolizing what they do as something that's just unachievable, but it is achievable and you can do it. It just takes time and effort, and it's a pain in the ass to do it. Mint is great. Let's see. Are we talking about Mint? Mint? The character from the pilot? Mint is great. I want to see the compliment for Mint. Who was talking about Mint? Who's talking about Mint? What did you say? I want to see it. Does that mean you're plural? Yeah, Sabine, I'm diagnosed with dissociative identity disorder. I don't talk about it. I don't really make it publicized. But there was a point in my content where I did kind of incorporate it a bit into my content, and there is going to be a callback to that in the future. But at the moment, yeah, I am diagnosed with BPD-DID, but I don't really talk about it that much. But yeah, there was Yuko Alter was a character that I used to depict a certain side of that, and yeah, diagnosed with professional therapist, all that stuff. You know, but yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, it's definitely interesting. You helped me a lot. I'm glad. I'm not too comfortable talking about it at length, if I'm being 100% honest. Because for some people, if you're diagnosed as well, for obvious reasons. So we'll just move on. But is there anything I can do 5 to 7 minutes quietly? I have little to no time alone. No, you're fine, Greg. Yeah, I mean, raising your larynx and stuff for 5 to 7 minutes is fine. You do want more time than that, but, you know, any time is better than no time, right? Your therapist refused to diagnose you because she said it wouldn't really help anything. And it would just lead to discrimination. Yeah, it can do that for sure. Like, if my, my therapist said, basically when I was diagnosed, she said, don't tell anybody. Because I was like, you know, I was supposed to, you know, I asked her, like, should I tell the driver's license people? Because usually with a driver's license, you have to update them on, like, mental health issues and what you're diagnosed with, right? And she said that, like, I'm not a individual that would be at risk of driving and having that be an issue 100%. So she said, if you do that, then it's gonna become a whole thing and they'll take away your license. So, like, yeah, discrimination is a very real thing. Do you have any exercises you do daily? Not really, no. At the moment, basically, like, after a few years of voice training, you'll get to a point where if you're using your voice every day, it literally just means sitting down at your computer for a few hours and you can carve out an entirely new voice. Like, for me, I guess Grace, it took me about, like, a few days to get Grace's voice properly, a few hours to get the voice, and then a few days to get it consistent. But then, like, to really get it comfortably usable, it took months, right? Sorry to hear that, Akira. I hope you get better. I didn't know that. My dog didn't really walk me through all, so that, yeah, she walked me through a lot. It became this whole thing. It was like, it was a whole thing. It was like, getting diagnosed with the AD was like a month process or some shit. Do you recommend singing to get a higher tone? No. I recommend singing. Singing should be the last thing that you do. You want to focus on your resonance and the core components, building the foundation. That's the main thing. Should I sing? I'll add that too. Should I sing? I haven't been adding questions to my list. Let's see. These are the questions I've had so far. So the first question, let me actually, let's see. All right, this is gonna be a bit of a participation with everybody in chat, everybody that's kind of, if you're in a different tab, totally get it. But
are you an insane?
If you want to make sure that your question gets spoken about at length in my upcoming voice training video, then I'm gonna go through these questions, and I'm going to associate a number with them to see how much people come out and respond. I would do a poll. But in a poll, you can only respond to one at a time. So we're going to do numbers instead, and this is going to be, I'm going to have to, like, count it after. Okay, so if this question applies to you, how to tell if you've raised your larynx to the right level, please type 1 in chat. If you would like a breakdown analysis, how to do that. How to tell if you've raised your larynx to the right level. 1 in chat if that applies to you. That's 100% going in there at length. That's a priority, okay. I'm going to put that as S tier question. Because gaming terms are fucking cool. Yeah, it's 1 for sure. Okay, yeah, awesome. Alright. Okay. How to record yourself and not lose your mind. Type 2 in chat if that's something you want to see. How to record yourself and not go crazy. 2 in chat for that. Number 2 in chat for that. Okay. Alright, that's another S tier. That's a big S tier. Golly. That's a huge S tier. Okay. Alright. Awesome. Plugging that in. Alright. This is going to be number 3. Neva and Dominic, please only 1 at a time. Please only type 1 at a time. Okay, so what if my voice is too deep? Type 3 in chat for that, please. What if my voice is too deep? Please type 3 in the chat for that. Okay. Alright, seeing a few. That's probably about... That's a huge issue. Okay, that's something... That's gonna be an A tier, yeah. I'm gonna have that as a priority, but it's not gonna be as prioritized as the other two. I do think that that is less technical, so it will only need to be addressed briefly. But that will... I'll try and find some examples and stuff and really just nail in the point that your voice is not too deep no matter what. Alright. This one is going to be number 4, okay? Again, these questions are going to be referenced in my upcoming voice training video, and depending on the outpour of support for each question will be how it is or isn't addressed. Okay, so how long does it take will be number 4 in chat. Number 4 in chat is how long does it take? Okay. Wow, that's... Yeah, a lot of, okay, a lot of... Wow, okay, a lot. Yeah. I will... That's actually a good question. You'd think that it'd be a simple answer, but in my video, I can actually break it down relatively efficient. Like, that's gonna be probably... That's probably gonna be an S tier. And that's good because there's actually a lot to there's a lot to say on that. The answer is that it varies, but there's a lot more technicalities behind it that can be addressed that are actually objectively very helpful. It's a question I get a lot, and it's, you know, it varies is a very it's not an answer that would actually address it properly. Believe it or not, it's that there's actually an actual answer to that. Okay, so this question is going to be number 5. How to actually apply the lessons. That's number 5. That's number 5. Drawer, we're basically... I'm getting a feeling for the urgency of each voice training question that will be addressed in my upcoming video. So people are typing a number if it applies to them. I would do a poll, but people can only vote on one at a time, so it wouldn't really help. So 5 seems... Okay, so how to actually apply the lessons... I feel like that looks like 5 in chat if you want to see how to actually apply the lessons. That looks like an A tier. That's probably like an A tier. Yeah, maybe even a B tier, surprisingly enough. I suspected that one to be an S tier, honestly. Okay. Alright. How do I know what muscles to train? 6 in chat for how do I know... what muscles to train? S tier? Okay, I'll put it as S tier. Okay. Yeah, that's an easy S tier. That's a huge S tier. I think that has several answers to it. I think that's, I think it has several answers to it, yeah, for sure. Oh my god, yes? Okay, that is the question? Yeah. That is, that ultimately is, isn't it? Okay. I think that this one, I think this one's kind of addressed, like, how to record yourself and not go crazy. Already did that one, not go crazy. But when to record yourself? Yeah, okay, who here is when to record yourself in terms of experience? Who here is interested to know when is the most ideal to record yourself in terms of experience? Like, do you record it as soon as you start training? Do you record it after a month? Do you record it after you've done this? Type 7 in chat if you're interested in knowing when exactly to record yourself is best. That's 7 in chat for when to record yourself. Okay. Okay. Awesome. I'll plug that in. Okay. How to voice train and not go crazy is, we already have that one. And then should I sing? I'm going to put that as a B tier. Because I feel like that one doesn't have a lot to be said on it. Awesome. Cool. I have a list that is going to be in my next video. but we still have time to answer some more questions. If you, I'm not ending stream yet. That's just kind of like the halfway point. So if you have more questions about voice training, feel free to ask them now, and they might make it into the video. What about projection of the voice so people don't whisper? Projection of the voice is actually a good one. So, what about, okay, so whispering too much. Yeah, I think whispering too much is maybe the answer to that one, right? Whispering too much, projection. Yeah, I'll put that one in for now. Does smoking affect voice training? 100%. Yeah, voice training, you don't want to be vaping. You don't be smoking anything. None of that. Honestly, smoking actually affects how HRT adapts to your body, too, from what I know, I believe. What about not slipping into my mask voice when people are talking to me? It's super embarrassing. Oh, that's like a psychological thing, yeah. I like, you know what I would used to do? Is I would have a passively, like, my voice was passively femme, right? Like, it's just like what it is now. But I'd be like, if like, some dude was talking to me, like, yeah, bro, totally. Oh, totally, bro. Like, I'd really, like, ham up being tomboy unintentionally. Going into, like, old habits. That's just an issue of confidence. Yeah, that's just an issue of confidence. The role of confidence and self-belief in voice training, basically not dooming. Yeah, it's a matter of, like, understanding that it is achievable, but it's just difficult. You made it short like that? Yeah, I made that short in direct response to having done that. A lot of my shorts are, like, derived from, like, IRL experiences. I've always gotten headaches from people smoking, yeah. I want to say, yeah, just understanding that it's possible is very important. Let's see. What about dooming? Can I even achieve it? I think that's kind of like the, is my voice too deep? Yeah, I'll couple that one with that one. Can I even achieve it? Is my voice too deep? Okay. Secondhand embarrassment from your voice is such a mood. Yeah. How much and long does it take to voice train when starting out with voice training? That's going to be addressed in the video. Basically, it's a complex answer that has different thresholds to it. But because voice training has such a high ceiling, but a low entry point, it's a matter of taking it in steps. It's a matter of, like, you know, voice training can be done for like 3 years, and you can still be improving. But to get to a passable female voice is like, you can get that in a few months type thing. It's a very complex answer because there's also, like, how long can you hold the voice for? You know, what's actually passable? What isn't? What is this sounding more femme? Counting as progress? Like, it's like all that stuff is taken into account. Thanks for being here, Jeff. Both cis men and women sound like dying cats when screaming for help. True. How long a day is a good amount to start voice training? Again, that's subjective on where you're at. If you're just starting, I would say between 20 to 30 minutes is ideal. You don't want to overexert yourself, but you don't want to do so little that you're not getting any progress. How do you feel about swallow? So if you're talking about, like, holding a swallow for voice training, you don't want to do that anymore. It's been found to actually have potential risks associated. Is there an exercise to practice without falling back on pitch? High-low? Yeah, 100%. Basically, what you want to do is to make sure you're not falling back on pitch is don't worry about how you sound. That's it. You want to, like, raise your larynx and get used to speaking with a raised larynx. I know it sounds crazy, right? Don't worry about how you sound right away. Raise your larynx and worry about just speaking with a raised larynx, and then worry about mouth space and your throat muscles. Worry about the intricacies of resonance and not how you sound right away. And then you will get to a point where you realize inherently by doing that, you sound more feminine. Inherently. That's the most important part, right? That is the best answer to that, I believe. It's a great answer to it. I have a good quiet voice, girl voice, but when I try to talk louder, I start to sound like an abomination. What can I do? Practice, 100%. If you are having an issue with when you speak louder, your voice starts to sound deeper or it starts to distort. Your muscles simply aren't capable of holding that area where it needs to. And that's just practice, you know? Just learning to speak louder over time, honing the muscles. That's basically all it boils down to. Do you have any resources for finding one-on-one training with a professional? I do not. How do I control my volume staying feminine? I still can find sound feminine while whispering, yelling. Yeah, it's just a matter of speaking with confidence, speaking comfortably, and honing the muscles. How to know if the voice passes? One, recording your own voice and listening to yourself. B, getting a objective feedback from someone you trust. Like, you don't want to go to someone that is just going to tell you sound passable if you don't. But you don't want to go to someone that's going to be mean. You want to find someone that you can trust, that you can get feedback from, that's going to be objective and honest. If you're recovering from an illness, don't voice train. That's it. Honestly, if you're recovering from COVID, just don't even worry about voice training. Wait to heal. Wait to get back on your feet, and then worry about it. You've talked about the app voice tools in a short, but I was a little confused. Could you talk more about that? Include tips on how to use it better. So yeah, voice tools for those that don't know. Let me get a little representation here. App. Let me get some representation. So you can see it on screen. We can talk about that together. I think it's a very useful app to use. Let me get a screenshot real quick. Thanks for the follow, Schlaf. Save image as type. There we go. Boop. Okay. This app right here can either be your best friend or your worst enemy. Voice Tools is an app that will... Oh, I'm so bright. Oh, I'm going to turn off the light. Sorry, I'm glowing. So basically, what you're seeing here is that line, that red line, is someone using voice tools and speaking into the microphone. And basically, all voice tools is doing is saying your voice... thanks for the follow as well. Your voice is right here in the male range. It's up here in the fem range, down here in the male range. The way that you want to use this app correctly is by making sure that you're not focusing, again, you're not 100% focusing on your sound. Because your primary focus should be on raising your larynx, your mouth space, and your throat muscles, right? So like the difficult things to achieve are what you want to focus on. And if you're raising your larynx, if you're adjusting your mouth space, if your throat muscles are adjusted, and you start to get into this feminine range, then you are in fact using the app correctly. Now, the reason why I said what I just said about not worrying about how you sound right away is because if you use this, you can get into the feminine range very easily by just using your pitch or your falsetto, but that is not going to sound passable, right? You want to get up here the hard way, not the easy way. Don't cheat yourself. You want to get up here the hard way. Only raising your larynx, only your mouth space, only your throat muscles. That is what matters here. Tess, thank you so much for the subscription. Yo, helps a lot. Thank you so much. This is voice tools, what I'm talking about. That's just pitch. Yeah. The app also has a spectrogram, which you can use to see resonance. It does. Oh, okay, cool. I didn't know there was a resonance thing. But the pitch one, yeah, if you raise your resonance on this, it should also reflect that. I did not know it had a resonance thing on it now. That's super cool. Once you're trained, how difficult it is to keep using your femme voice for long conversations depends on where you're at. I originally would only be able to stream for like an hour and a half. And now I've had like 10-hour streams. And I was speaking totally fine the day after. It's just like it takes time, but yeah, it's different thresholds. You know that app? Yeah, it's definitely good. It's definitely good. I'm glowing. Dun dun dun. Epic Yuko moments. Super serious Yuko. Oh my god. Yes. Resonance is a weird thing, yeah. Lexi, thanks so much for the prime, yo. Thank you. Helps a lot. Arigato. Arigato. Let's find some guilty gear. Yes. Yeah. And thanks for the follow. Let's see. Guilty Gear Strive OST. Where is the resonance tool in there? I have no idea. Someone just told me there is. I didn't know that existed. So I should not use voice tools until I'm proficient at controlling my voice. Is that right? You should use voice tools when you can use it correctly. Like when you're able to speak with the raised larynx and you know how to adjust your mouth space, then start doing that. Or if you're trying to figure out if you're doing it correctly and you're raising your larynx when you speak, use voice tools then. But just make sure you're not using pitch. What app is that? It's voice tools. Just voice tools. I want to start. I just don't have the will yet. That's 100% on you to find it. Use it as a tool. Yeah, exactly. Nico, I just got an appointment to start HRT. Congratulations. Yeah, it's not an end all be all. You still want to, like, it's a tool in your arsenal, but you still want to record your voice. You still want feedback from people that are going to be honest. All that stuff. The spectrogram is under the more tab at the bottom. That's cool. The gamer, thanks for the follow. When I record my voice, is there anything specific I should listen for? I mean, that's a question that, like, that's a very open-ended question that's kind of hard to answer, right? Like, you got to be a bit more specific than that, to be honest. I find it hard to listen back to my voice. Any tips on how to make it easier? Yeah, find a way to separate yourself from dysphoria. I would go into VR chat personally in a VR headset, and I would record with my, like, desktop display showing up in there. And yeah, like, just find a way to separate yourself from that. Don't look at mirrors, you know, try just to be as safe as possible. VR chat, VR headset is what I used. Any tips on dealing with anxiety starting out, especially if you live with someone who wouldn't react well? Sorry for asking again. You're fine. You don't have to apologize. It's a matter of just, again, yeah, that's like, you know, I used VR chat for that. I would go on walks. You know, I'd leave the house. I would just, you know, find places that I wouldn't feel anxious. VR chat's a great way to do it. Going on a walk's a great way to do it. I've managed to cut 90% of the bass from my voice. Great. But it seems I don't sound quite like a girl yet. Do you have any tips on how to make it sound voice more recognizably a girl? See, I would have to hear your voice. And then with that, I could give you some feedback. I could probably do that on stream. But it would be played live and everyone would hear your voice. So if you want direct feedback, we could probably work that out, but it'd be everyone could hear it. That sounds hard, but it's worth a shot. True. Glad you like it, Tyler. The spectrogram isn't specifically a resonant thing, but if you raise your larynx while making breath sound, you can see the harmonics beneath your main. Oh, okay, got you. Hi, hello. It sounds hard, but it's worth a shot. It's 100% worth a shot. A shot for sure. Voice review stream might be a great idea. I mean, this is a voice training stream, so now it's as good as ever. Are you in the Discord? I sing songs while riding on my motorcycle, and then I heard the audio when I'm editing the videos before posting. Yeah, that's cool. I don't recommend singing though. Again, I don't recommend doing that. You really need to spend time focusing on your larynx and stuff first, getting those foundations, and then you can do that. You're in the Discord. Open a ticket and then ping me or ping the mods and tell them that they have a voice sample you want me to hear for a stream. That I gave you permission to do it. Any tips for coping and getting it together mentally when boy moding? This is a voice training stream. But that's just, yeah, since it's a voice training stream, I kind of focus on that. But I do wish you the best with that. It's a matter of just, you know, understanding that, like, things get better. If you're in a situation now that you need to voice boy mode, know that, like, it's all, like, they call it a journey because you're always moving forward. And so long as you keep moving forward, it will get easier and it will get better. You don't judge a cake until it's final, until it's cooked, right? You don't go into a chef's cafe and then, like, start eating their cake raw as dough and then tell them it's a shit cake You know, you don't do that. So don't do that to yourself. Do you have any pets you do cutesy baby talk to? Try applying with that. Yeah, I mean, if that works for some people, then great. I'm not supposed to. The Discord is 18 plus, by the way. Yeah. Question: how many years have you been voice training? I mean, voice training and using my voice is two different things. I've been using my voice for a few years now, but voice training, I mean, I only probably applied like a few months at a time. Like, realistically speaking, if you voice trained for 3 months, and then just used the voice over time, and then every now and then went back to it, did like another week or two of voice training, and then kept using your voice, you would slowly get better. So it's a very much it's a question that doesn't have one answer. Yummy raw cake, yeah, for sure. You're just playing Guilty Gear, fuck yeah. This is so hard. Can I just return my vocal cords to the manufacturer for replacement? That'd be crazy cool. I wish. Actually, speaking of which, I wonder if I got my I wonder if I got my email yet, or my I returned my mocaps too because I need a replacement. I try integrating it into my everyday life. Yeah. The more you use it outside of training, the easier it'll be to train. It's kind of like the more you use it while not training, the more the muscles get trained, so that when you train, your training is more effective, and it kind of snowballs like that. Does that include tea overload with sugar? No, you want to have it be as hydrating as possible for tea. I can say baby talk, pet talk isn't always helpful. Yeah, I haven't heard that one before. I wouldn't recommend that myself, but if it helps some people, then that's great. Doop. There we go. Now the lighting's affecting me. I wish the dog understood when I was sad. Yeah, my cat knows when I'm sad. It's pretty cool. Do you need to be a joiner or subscriber to get my voice reviewed? No, we're kind of just doing it off the cuff. It's free. Free real estate. I'll see if that person opened a ticket. Let's see. Not sure how to do this, but Yuko is actually being documented on Kiwi Farms. But it's concerning. Oh, that's weird. Apparently, I have. I mean, it's like it's inevitable that people are gonna find me. Apparently, people are after me. What a surprise! 4chan's got after me again. Kiwi Farms is after me. Crazy. Any tips on introducing a new voice to people you only sort of knew? I mean, like, if you're comfortable with them and you trust them, then that's fine. Just do that. How do you know when you are using pitch instead of resonance? If you don't... Okay, a good rule of thumb is if you're not sure that you're using pitch over resonance, you're using pitch over resonance. You need to make sure that you're not focusing on how you sound right away. And learning how to sound more feminine while not worrying about how you sound. Very weird explanation, but it's a matter of just practice. When I saw the title, I thought for a second this was the third question and answer voice lesson. Huh? No, this is I'm not sure what you mean. This, yeah. I've been answering questions and answers this entire time, but I'm gonna be making this into a video after. Bridget being such a hard main to master is ironically euphoric. That's fair. Yeah, Bridget's pretty sick. Fun gameplay for sure. What's your thoughts on Eve Tight? I'm not gonna speak on it. I think that you know, from what I saw, very disturbing and quite disgusting. You know, it's like I don't get into drama online, but there are some indefensible things that they did, and it's very frustrating and very sad to see. You did see your video? Thank you. I'm glad. If I know I'm new to both your channel and voice training, so bear with me. How does it feel and or sound like when I'm doing the voice training correctly at the beginning? You're gonna sound weird at the beginning. If you're raising your larynx and speaking, you're not gonna sound passable right away, but that's because it's like one piece of many pieces that will help you, right? So understand that you won't sound passable right away. But so long as you're worried about just focusing on the core components, you'll get there eventually. Alright. Ladies and gents and they thems. fun stream. It was good. I hope today helped someone out. I hope today, I hope I got to your question if you've been here. Been good stuff, been good things. I appreciate all of you coming out. It's supposed to be a short stream today because it is very much a spurt of the moment thing where I just want to get some, you know, kind of some data, see what people are struggling with. So I'm going to go to the lab. I'm going to start boiling down these questions that you've all asked. I have the tier list over what's most important to be answered, and I'll be sure to address those in the video. And that video will be out either this weekend or next weekend. Depends on the scripting process and how crazy I go with the editing, you know me. But yeah, thank you all so much for coming in. I appreciate your company as always. Always nice to see you. I hope that you have a super solid week, Monday. So yeah, I'm gonna go cook. I hope that the video helps you out. And I wish you the best in your voice training. Sincerely, I sincerely do, you know? Yeah. I'll catch you all later. Thanks for being here. Oh, if you wanna, yeah, I'll drop this before you leave. Important. Before you go, I do extra. So on Sunday, I stream specifically on YouTube and Twitch. It's very rare that I stream off of a Sunday on YouTube. But if you want to catch my extra streams, come check me out at Twitch. Usually, like, if it's, like, late at night and I'm lonely, and I'll just stream on Twitch because it's a bit more relaxed. Or, like, on Saturdays, I have a Saturday-specific stream for Twitch because we can listen to DMCA music and stuff. So, check out my Twitch if you want to catch my extra streams from the YouTube side. If not, always happy to see you here on YouTube. Totally up to you. Catch you later. Thanks for being here. Until next time, you gorgeous and valid. Deal with it, alright? Until then.